Downplaying death. In a stunning taped admission from February, U.S. President Donald Trump admitted to veteran journalist Bob Woodward that he knew exactly how deadly and contagious the coronavirus was, but was purposely downplaying the threat to the American people. After that tape, there are multiple examples of the president telling the American people that COVID-19 would go away, would disappear, is less deadly than the flu, when he admitted privately it wasn't. COVID-19 has run rampant across the U.S. There's over 6 million cases and almost 200,000 deaths. As the old saying goes, when America sneezes, Canada gets a cold. But that has deadly new significance now. How concerned should Canadians be, and how will this impact the closure of the U.S. Canada border? Let's find out. Joining me now is the Canadian ambassador to the U.S., Kirsten Hillman. Ambassador Hillman, first of all, pleasure to have you on the program. Did the Canadian government know that the President of the United States was actively downplaying the dangers, essentially lying to the public about the dangers of COVID-19 back in February?
Hi, Evan. First of all, thanks for having me. It's really good to be here talking to you. Canada is focused on our approach to COVID, and we're focused on our expert advice, and we're focused on the science that underpins our decision making. And that's what we know.
But Ambassador, you know that what happens there affects us, specifically on the border. Did the U.S.'s handling and continues to handling of the COVID-19 virus, is that impacting how long the U.S.-Canada border will remain essentially closed, except for, of course, essential services?
Well, maybe first I'd like to start by saying that when it comes to discussions around the border, we are having those conversations. I'm having those conversations down here regularly. Every week, every 10 days at minimum, comparing notes with the administration on how things are going at the border, what's happening in our two countries, and what we think the implications of that are for the border restrictions that we have in place. And the same is true of colleagues in Ottawa in talking to counterparts down here. And in those discussions, Canada approaches the issue from the perspective of what is the science telling us, what are our experts telling us, what are the measures that we need to take or keep in place in order to protect Canadians. That's job one for us, is protecting Canadians. And so, what I can say is the U.S. understands that. Those conversations are extremely collaborative, they're extremely constructive, and we have measures in place that both sides feel are working really well.
But Ambassador, they clearly have a different view. Donald Trump every day says, open up, open up, open up, whether it's football leagues or stores or cities or campaign events. The way they're handling it is radically different than Canada. What if the U.S. says, we want to open the border now, we're ready, it's time to open it up, and Canada's not ready? Have you had that discussion, and what will determine an agreement on both sides? Like, what is the line you need to see?
The U.S. is not pressuring us to open the border or to loosen the restrictions that we have in place. We both agree that the measures that we have in place are doing what they were designed to do. We know that, the Americans know that, and we're really satisfied with what's happening.
So it could go on for a while, obviously, as this evolves. Let's talk about the impact of trade, the other big issue. The White House trade advisor, Pete Navarro, recently said that Canada's a backdoor for dumping ground for goods from China that are subjected to U.S. tariffs, and he believes Canada's a backdoor. Donald Trump repeatedly says that, he repeats that. The other day, he just repeated that Canada took advantage of the U.S. on auto. This is part of his kind of hit list, as you know. When do you expect the U.S. to lift tariffs on Canada's aluminum? When is that going to happen?
So that's not a question, unfortunately, that I can answer. Our view is those tariffs should come off now. They should come off today. They are unjustified. They are primarily and first and foremost harmful to Americans at a time when they need them least. And the proof of that is 97% of the U.S. aluminum industry is opposed to the tariffs, and there's wide bipartisan opposition to the tariffs. So the tariffs make no sense. They hurt Americans. They should come off. And Canada is going to stand up for ourselves on this, as we do with the Americans when we don't agree with them, and we will put into place dollar for dollar countermeasures.
Right.
That's what we're going to have to do.
Dollar for dollar countermeasures. I mean, the big concern, Ambassador, is the fraying relationship between the U.S. and Canada. And look, it's the closest trading relationship. But whether it's on softwood lumber or aluminum, Canada's still getting hits. And then Pete Navarro as well belittled Canada's contribution in Afghanistan, saying every time a Canadian shows up in uniform, is it doing us a favor? That infuriated the former Canadian commander of the forces, like General Rick Hillier. Did Canada respond to that insult to our forces? Do you have a démarche, or did you have any response to the U.S. for that insult?
So the first thing I'd like to say, and say very clearly, as Canada's ambassador here in the United States, I have many of our armed forces and their families as members of my team here, both in Washington and across the United States. And I couldn't be more proud of what they do and the sacrifices they make and the lives that they lead to keep us safe and secure in Canada. So first of all, I would like to say that very clearly to everyone. Secondly, those sentiments of pride, respect, and appreciation are sentiments that I have heard over and over again from the U.S. government and from Americans. I've heard them also recently, in the past week or two. So that's what I know. I know that our forces are deeply respected by Canadians, and I know they're deeply respected by the United States and Americans.
Did you respond, though, to the administration and say that was an insult? You got a senior advisor to the president insulting Canadian forces. Was there any Canadian response?
I had some conversations, yes.
You did have conversations. Was there an apology?
I had many members of my network of contacts here in Washington express their deep appreciation and respect for the Canadian troops.
Ambassador, is the U.S. putting pressure on you and Canada to ban Huawei? This is tied up deeply, of course, in China relations, the trade war, and, of course, the Meng Wanzhou situation and the extradition. How much pressure is the U.S. putting on Canada to ban Huawei from our 5G network?
We have conversations with all of our allies, the Americans, our Five Eyes allies, all of our intelligence allies, around issues related to the proper defense and security of Canada, of its networks, and of our ability to protect ourselves. And those conversations involve a multitude of topics, including different suppliers for tech services and 5G. I think that they're complicated conversations, but ultimately we'll make our decision based on what is going to keep Canadians the safest.
Right. Are we close? The UK's made a decision, Australia's made a decision. We're the last one of the Five Eyes to make the decision. How close are we?
Yeah, I think that's a question you're going to have to ask some of my colleagues in Ottawa. I think that these are discussions that are important, they're ongoing, they're highly technical, and they're fairly complex. So I know that they're ongoing and being taken very seriously. All
right, I got to leave it there today. Ambassador Hillman, first of all, a great pleasure to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you.